Let me share with you this morning. I've always viewed things a little bit different. Over the years, I've been blessed. I've seen some good things from the Lord, some great things of the Lord. And sometimes when people see somebody's blessed, they figure you're an expert on it, so they want you to come and tell them all about it. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but let me just tell you that on church growth, let me tell you, if you want to plant a church, you're going to start a church. There are seminars on how to do it. There are what they call boot camps on how to do that, how to start a new church. They actually have boot camp, church planners boot camp. And they go through all kinds of stuff, and it's involved with a canvassing. It's a telemarketing thing, and it's a numbers game. You put out mass mailings all around the area, whatever it is, and you know what? And it's all strategic and all this kind of stuff and everything. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm not knocking it. I'm not going to say there's not some merit to that, but let me tell you, more times than not, when I've seen people buy into that new modern age way of planting a church, we're not planting a business. You hear what I said? We're not planting a new organization in town. When you're talking about planting a church, I'm not sure I'm going to buy in to the secular way of going about church planting. And most of the time when I've seen it doesn't work. When I've seen it when it works, I'm not sure I want what they get. Did you hear what I said? And I'm just trying to say, listen to me, I'm all about church growth. I'm all about seeing God do great things. And so I'm open to that. If I thought boot camp was the answer, I'd go to boot camp. I'd stay in boot camp. I'd do whatever. I'd go to every seminar, and I've been to seminars. I've done all that stuff. And most of the time what they're telling you is it sounds so closely if you were starting a clothing business. I'm just telling you the truth. It sounds so close if you were just trying to start some, social club, a new Lions Club branch, or a new arm of the Kiwanis Club, or whatever. And I'm sure it works to some degree. Like I said, most of the time it doesn't work. When it does work, I'm not sure I want what they get as a result of that. So having said that, I'm not here just to talk about that. I want to tell you what I believe from the depths of my soul is indeed the pattern for church growth. You'll find it in the Word of God. You'll see it repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again. You don't find too often that Jesus said, hey, I'm going to preach tonight. Would you go out and ask a lot of folks to come hear me? Show me in the Bible. Jesus, I'm going to be speaking over here on the hillside. Why don't y'all go out and get a whole bunch of folks to come and hear me speak? I really got a word for them. It's not what happened. But there are some things that happen that I want to learn from. I want to read from Exodus chapter 32. Exodus 32, beginning with verse 1. It says, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, get up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as far as this Moses is concerned, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, that should have been speaking for something there, but they're acknowledging it, but said, we don't know what's become of him. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake all the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, these then be our gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And the Lord said unto Moses, and remember where Moses was. Where was he? Up in the mountain doing what? Talking with God, spending time with God, getting the orders from God, getting a word a word that they needed to take back down to the people and stuff. And so remember, when all this is going on, it says, and again, God spoke to Moses and said, get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt. There it is for the third time. They have corrupted themselves. Folks, verse 1 is the very verse that is the crux in this idea of what I want to share with you today. I believe that church growth is a simple matter of the invisible becoming visible. Let me say it again, the invisible becoming visible. And verse 1 is the crux of the whole issue there. It says, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said, make us something visible. Make us something visible Because for Moses, we can't see him. He's not here. He led us out of the land of Egypt, but now we can't see him. And so out of mind, out of sight, when out of sight, out of mind, out of faith. The bottom line is they said, he's not here. We can't see him. We need something we can see. The result of it, of course, then was the golden calf and a very strange festival. Now, let me just begin this morning by saying we have some very strange festivals going on in our church world today in the name of religion. Because people have to have a visible manifestation of God. Their need is legitimate. Their need is real. And there's always then an Aaron who will come up with something to pacify and please the people. What do you think the seeker-friendly thing is all about? People want to see something, I'll arrange something, I'll put something together for you, and it just make you happy. If you don't like this, what do you like? Let's take a survey. What do you want? What do you like? I mean, and they're trying to create something that would give them a visible way of being able to feel like, now I know what's going on. Can I just say this to you? People have to have a visible manifestation of God. Babel, in your Bible, go back and study, is the same essence early in the history of man. They wanted to reach unto God. They wanted to reach God. Nothing wrong with that. So they said, we're going to build a tower to reach up to God. Their need is, their motive is good, but the answer, folks, you can do the right thing the wrong way. They said, let us build a tower. Folks, when difficulties come and when God seems distant, man always wants to make some arrangement. They want to arrange something. And so when we don't feel God moving, then we act like he's moving. When God's not saying anything, we act like he said something. Are you listening to me? And the Bible talks about that. It's when people say, thus saith the Lord, when the Lord ain't said a thing. There's always somebody that will say, you want to hear something? I got a word for you. You know what we live in? We live in a society where, in the church world, where we are not eager enough or not disciplined enough or not committed enough or serious, whatever it is, to go up to the mountain and interact with God and receive something from God. So there's always some self-declared, self-appointed guru who says, I'll go up the mountain for you. You just check your brains out in the lobby and you don't think anymore, and I'll come back and I'll tell you what God's got for you. They're waiting in the balances are always there to do that. Aaron didn't say, well, I think we need to, Moses right now is up with God. We're going to wait. No. He said, well, go get some, let's just do something. Let's make something up right here. Let's arrange something that will pacify the people. Folks, that is what humanism is all about. It's the arrangement of man. So we have to ask this question. Where's the church in all this? If humanism is on the scene and being well received, because they're hearing people say, we need something, we need to see something, we need, and so humanism comes along, seeker-friendly comes along. But where's the church in all of this? What should the church's response be? Well, here it is. Listen to me. We preach salvation by faith, and we should. We preach the baptism of the Holy Ghost with evidence of speaking in tongues, and we should. We preach the healing power of Jesus, and we should. We preach that he's coming back again, as well we should. But sometimes we do not back up what we preach with the visible manifestations of God, and that's what is wrong with the world today. Don't blame it on the government. Don't blame it on the president. Don't blame it on whatever. If the church was all it ought to be, we wouldn't have half the problems we got in this world today. Now, you can say what you want, but I'm telling you what, that's what the Bible says. Remember, again, we're the salt of the earth. We're the light of the world. And if we look around and see the earth and the world going to hell in a handbasket, let's quit blaming government and officials and all this kind of stuff and say, what about us? What about us? We preach. Can I just say this to you? I want to tell you, one of the things I respect the most, one of the things that I honor the most, Christians amaze me. Christian, I take my hat off to Christians. And let me tell you why. You know, I'm being a little sarcastic, but let me tell you why. You know me pretty well, don't you? All right, listen to me. Because they will go to church and they preach about the power of God. They sing about the power of God. They teach about the power of God. They have classes on the power of God. They know that God can do all things, and most of them in 30 or 40 or 50 years have never seen God do one thing, and they keep showing up for church every Sunday. I take my hat off to all the Christians. Let me tell you something. If I keep going to a restaurant over and over again, and I get a bad meal, bad meal, bad meal, bad meal, I ain't going back no more. I'm not trying to say you ought to be church hopping. I'm not trying to say you ought to be. I'm just trying to say somewhere along the line, we have just gotten accustomed and got used to and accepting the fact that, as a matter of fact, we wouldn't go to a church that didn't believe in miracles. We wouldn't go to church where the preacher didn't preach the power of God. But we never see it, never experience it, nothing's happening, and we are okay with that. Folks, let me tell you something. If you will follow the history of Israel, you will see this thing coming into shape so very clearly. God manifested himself in the miraculous power time and time again. Go back and study again about Elijah on Mount Carmel. A sermon wouldn't have got it done. Are you listening to me? A Hillsong song would not have got it done. Any song wouldn't have got it done. It takes more than a great oratory at that moment. I mean, when we're in a battle with the false prophets of Baal, and you're standing up and saying, my God is the real thing, it's not going to take, you're not going to have a lecture series that's going to get the job done. You're not going to be able to talk to them and win them over. I'm saying to you, it doesn't matter how good the sermon would have been that Elijah would have brought, it would not have been enough. You could line up Rod Parsley, T.D. Jakes, Billy Graham. They all could have been there. It would not have been enough. What had to happen in that encounter, in that showdown? There had to become a visible manifestation of God. And when it came, listen to me, the answer was the Lord. It says he is God. That was the words of the mouths of the people. It wasn't about, woo, did you hear him preach? No, listen to me. When God came down to consume the altar with fire that nothing else could have done, they said, that's the God that we want to serve. When Moses said, I am weak and I cannot speak and I have nothing to offer, why did you call me? Why did you ask me to lead these people? God manifested himself in miracles through this weak instrument called Moses to bring Pharaoh to his knees and to let the people of God go free. It again wasn't an oratory. It wasn't a great speech that he prepared. It wasn't through organization, no matter how highly I believe that is so important. It was through the visible manifestation of God's power until Pharaoh cried, I have to let these people go. I can no longer keep my stance. I've got to release them. No matter what I thought, no matter politics, what I was doing, no matter what it doesn't matter what. He saw the visible manifestation of God so much and so powerful that he knew he had to do something. And he said, I must let them go. I cannot hold them back anymore. Folks, you study. You can study through the prophets in your Bible, and you'll find time and time again what God did. He showed up and showed out and showed off. They had some power behind their words. Even in Jesus' life. Listen to me. I mean, anybody knows anything about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When you study the four Gospels, anybody will say, if they ask one question, why did Jesus do miracles? Why did he do miracles? And why didn't he do them all the time? Listen to me. The purpose of God's miracles was to establish his credentials so when he would speak, they would listen. It wasn't the miracles really that he was about, but it was the word that would change their life. It was the word that would never, ever, ever return void. But for them to listen to him, listen to me, they said, let's go over and hear that one to raise the dead. Let's go listen to that guy over there that opened the blinded eye. Let's go over here and find this one over here that turned the water into wine. I'm going to go listen. It gave him credibility, and it gave him credentials, and the people wanted to hear what he had to say, and their lives were changed because of that. But he used the visible manifestation to draw them. So you'll find it, listen to me, with Israel. You will find it with the prophets. You'll find it even in Jesus' life. And folks, we've gotten away from that today. We have gotten away from that because now we have education. Well, thank God for education. It's a blessed thing. And now we've been accepted in some realms, in society a little bit. Some of our churches are, so we've got a little education, and we're letting them know we're not just them old, chandelier hangers and all this kind of stuff and aisle runners. And so somehow we got education, and now we're accepted. Let me just say this to you. Don't kid yourself. Do you know the church that our society accepts? It's not the large mega church. They don't accept them. What do? They're all about money. So society wipes them out. If you got a large mega church somewhere and stuff, it's all about money, it's prosperity, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that's true, even if it's not true. That's the attack on it. Any church, listen to me, that's doing what we're talking about today. Right? I mean, there's a power, and they reject that. They'll act like we're snake handlers, and we're all, again, chandelier, swingers, and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy. I mean, but the only church that society accepts is the one that just sits in their little corner on the block and says us four and no more, and doesn't get outside of that, and doesn't do anything in the city. It's not feeding the hungry. It's not helping the poor. It's not. If you just stay in, they would be totally fine for us to gather at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, and we just sing Kumbaya and sit around a little bit and tag you on the back, and we go out, and they're okay with that. They'll accept that church. They will accept the little church on the corner out in the country that's doing nothing but doing their little thing. They will accept that. But you start making a difference. You start changing lives. You start saying that you're an issue. You're a power. You're an authority. They will buck you. They will fight you somehow, some way. The only church they will accept is the church that is nothing but worshiping an invisible God, and they'll just kind of like, oh yeah, well, those folks. And they just kind of write you off. Folks, listen to me. Somewhere along the line, there's got to be something that crawls up inside of us that says, I am no longer satisfied. Can I tell you what I feel in my spirit this morning? What I believe in my heart? I have a new cry in my heart for miracles. Because when I look around our world and I see the crime and the murder and the sin and the people, all the lost people, listen to me, I realize we are not getting the job done. Not anywhere close, not even a feeble attempt at it. Folks, listen to me. I need, you need, we need a visible manifestation from God to shake Indianapolis and to bring it to its knees. Nothing else is going to do it. So you can do your marketing, and you can do whatever and stuff, and you can send out the mailers, and you can do all that stuff, and you can do the math. That's fine. But when you're done, you'll have, I don't know what you'll have. But I'm telling you, if you don't have a visible manifestation of an invisible God, then you're not going to be able to sustain anything. You need the power, the authority of the power of the Spirit. You need that operating and working, and without it, you are just a salesman with nothing to sell. I'm telling you, we need that to bring this city to its knees. Nothing else is going to do it. I don't care if you brought the greatest pastor, preacher in the world into this pulpit. That's not going to be enough. I don't care how great the singing is. I don't care. You can do all you want to. It is not enough. We have to have the miraculous. And this is not some little pet peeve of mine. Ask me, anybody, challenge me. Do your research and come back and tell me that what I've said today is untrue, that what I've said today is not straight from the Word of God, that what we should be selling is the power of God. What we should be delivering to people is the power of God. That what we should be telling people is He can change your life. What we should be telling people is you don't have to live the way you're living. You don't have to stay in the same mess that you are right now. If we're not offering that, are we supposed to bring people in to help them to cope with their problems? Is that what we're supposed to do? Bring them in so that we help you to coexist with your problems. I want somebody that can tell me how to get rid of my problems. I want somebody who can tell me how I can have victory in every situation, not how I can coexist with it and survive with it. One thing about Ray and I, we're on the same page on this one thing. He's facing, they found some spot on his lung and it's cancerous. And he and I talked before he met with the doctors about what they were going to do, anything. The one thing he and I were in total agreement. I didn't push it on him. He told me, and I said, that's exactly how I think. Let me tell you, if they ever find cancer in my body, you know what I want them to do? Get it out. Get it out. Don't treat it. Get it out. Now, that's not always an option. I understand that. But I'm telling you what, in his case, it is an option. They're going to take a little part of his lung out. They're going to take, but and that's a big deal. But can I tell you what? Get it out. Don't tell me you got it under control, but it's still inside of me. That's just not where I want to live. I don't want to go to a church where they say, well, why don't you just take 2 aspirin Colts in the morning? Why don't you just do this and that, man? Maybe you can learn to live it. I want somebody to tell me I can be free. And who the Son sets free is free indeed. I want somebody to tell me there's an answer to my situation. Folks, we have to have that. We have to have the miraculous. If the people are going to bow their knee to the Lord and they don't, listen to me, if they don't see it, you know what they'll say? Let's go to a church where they'll make us a God. That, because we don't know what's happened. And can I tell you, the only reason seeker friendly is even in the picture today is because we don't have the power of God working in our churches like we ought to. Simple as that. The only way that you can have a seeker-friendly, successful church is if you already are saying, Moses isn't here, the power's not here, the glory's not here, and so let's just come up with something, and let's arrange something, and that's all that's happened. It happened back with Aaron. It happened today. It's all because right now we're not seeing God do what he wants to do. Can I say this to you? Have you ever thought about this in this realm? Have you ever thought about this, that it takes something, to have something visible? See, a lot of you think that what I'm talking about is, the zap, the power, woo, and it's just a event type thing. Can I tell you what? It takes discipline to see something visible from God, something you can touch. Have you ever analyzed the fact that it takes discipline? You have to be anchored in the realm of the invisible to see it become visible. We walk by faith and not by sight. That doesn't mean that we don't need sight. It doesn't mean that sight won't happen. But you walk through the invisible. You have to be anchored. You have to be disciplined in the invisible to see the visible. You cannot challenge God. You cannot, bluff God. You cannot blackmail God into doing that. But if you are anchored in the invisible, then you can see the visible come to pass. I think we've lost that discipline. We come to church on Sunday. Let me just talk, everybody here. You came today not expecting one miracle. Oh, I know you can get holy on me and go, oh, not me. Let's get past that. Let's get real deep here. Some of you never thought one thing about this service till you walked through the door. Didn't pray 1 second over it. I told you I wouldn't be a very good politician because this isn't going over real good right now. And I don't really care, to be honest with you. Most of you didn't pray 1 second for this service. Okay? You know that's true. If you can't say amen, say oh me. Everybody say oh me. Because you know it's true. I didn't say it's everybody. I said the majority. Many of you. Listen to me. We've lost the discipline of being connected to the invisible and believing for the invisible to become visible when 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, and believing in his day, in his power, his presence. That you got to be disciplined, and we lose the discipline because we no longer anticipate it, no longer expect it. Because that's like what that's like. That's like going out there and you're going to play a game, you're going to play a football game, whatever, and the Colts go out today just thinking they can just win because they're whatever. First of all, they think they can win. They're a little delirious altogether, but whatever, it doesn't matter. All I'm trying to say to you is, you got to have the discipline that says the harder I work and the more I practice, the luckier I get. Did you hear what I said? A lot of people say, no. The harder I work, the more disciplined I am, things come my way. Things begin to happen for me. There was a golfer years ago that said that. It's amazing. The more I practice, the luckier I get. Not luck. I'm telling you, the more disciplined we are in the spirit realm, the more disciplined we are that we believe in the supernatural power of God and we expect the power of God. And it takes discipline. You know what? Because you don't always see what you want when you want. It doesn't always work out the way that you want. I prayed for many things that I didn't get what I wanted. It takes discipline to still believe and to still trust and to keep coming and believing. Folks, when you lay by a pool for 38 years, every day believing for healing, believing for miracles, it takes discipline to show up the 38th year and the next day. It takes discipline. You know what he said? I still believe somehow if he stirs the water, I know I can be healed. We either quit after 38 minutes. You know it's true. 38 years, but listen, he was disciplined to know the invisible can become visible. I don't know why it always does. Sometimes it takes 30 years. Sometimes it's instantaneous. I don't always have the answer. I'm not God. All I'm saying is we must be disciplined. We come to church on Sunday without expecting miracles, without expecting the manifestation of the invisible coming in visible form, and we've got to change that mindset. We've got to come believing that we have the whole gospel, and greater works than these shall ye do. That is God's plan to manifest himself in miraculous conversions, miraculous healings, in miraculous deliverances, miraculous growth, in miraculous change in the economy of a community. Why? Because the church of Jesus Christ is in that community. We've got to get that into our heads and our hearts again. Can I tell you? You know, I've had people, the minute that they heard that, you know, we were meeting in the theater, and then they got to think, that's fine, that's temporary. And then they got to think about it, but then when they realized we were going to look to be somewhere on the east side, I had people telling me, do you know what you're doing? Do you know the area? Do you know bye, 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 bye? I've heard that. Listen to me. You know what I believe? I believe that we can turn it. I believe we can change it. I believe if we're the salt of the earth, the light of the world, I believe that this little church right here can change the economy a little bit on the east side. I believe we can make a difference on the east side. If the invisible becomes visible, we can make a difference and an impact in our community. That's God's plan, folks. We've got to get that into our heads and our hearts again. We must come back now to the discipline, the principle that this entire Bible talks about. We have to have the invisible coming down in visible form. In Matthew 16, Jesus said to his disciples, who do men say that I am? Tell me what you're hearing. Tell me what the papers say. Tell me what the media says. Tell me what CNN says. Tell me what Fox News. Tell me who men say that I am. And we all know what Peter said. Some say Jeremiah, Isaiah, and so forth. But then he ultimately said this, but thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus' response to him was, flesh and blood has not revealed this unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. Now there's something here in this chapter we need to look at, folks. Watch this now. Men say that thou art Elijah. Men say thou art Jeremiah. Men say thou art one of the prophets. Jesus said, but who do ye say that I am? I ask you who men say, you answer that. But whom do ye say? Folks, can I just say this in the King James Version? There's a difference between men and ye. Now, I know that's King James. We don't always go, how you doing? But there's a difference between men and ye. That tells me that there's two kinds of people in the world. That tells me that there's two kinds of preachers in the world. That tells me there's two kinds of churches in the world. There's two kinds of families in the world. One led by the visible and the other led by the invisible. Think about it just for a moment. There are those that are led by the visible and men that are led by the invisible. Which are you? Which are you? In your home, do you lead by the visible or by the invisible? As the pastor of this church, I have to ask myself, do I lead by the visible or the invisible? The visible says we don't have it in the checkbook, so we can't do it. That's the visible. The invisible says that my God shall supply all of our needs according. But the invisible says, but you know what? We serve the God that owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. All the silver and gold belongs to him. And we're going to sit around here because the visible says we ain't got it. Can I just say this to you over the years? And I've been pastoring since I was 25 years old. Can I tell you something? I have never done anything that we ever had any money in the checkbook to do. We never took it out of surplus. We never took it out of savings. Never took it out of rainy day. We never did anything that we had. What are we going to do with this extra money? Well, why don't we start this new ministry? Never. Pastor, never. Then when you and Bev got married, did you get married because you had a lot of money you had to spend on something? You said, why don't we just put a marriage together and a wedding together, and why don't we start a family? What do you say? No. You see, you get married in spite of the fact you ain't got nothing. You ain't got nothing. My wife and I got married. Good grief. Everything. Can I tell you, forget when we got married. When we moved here to Indianapolis, so we'd already been married for a while, and we were living in Indianapolis. We were in full-time ministry. When we moved here, everything we owned fit in a 6x12 U-Haul trailer, and I had to rope it up to keep it from falling around because I couldn't even fill it up. Everything we owned. So you can imagine when we got married, we had nothing. Matter of fact, when we got engaged, folks, listen to me. I was a traveling evangelist, but I wasn't real busy. I wasn't in great demand. Matter of fact, I preached for her dad in September, and between that meeting and my next meeting, my wife and I had time to date, court, and get engaged. That's how much room we had in between services. While I was here in Indianapolis, I lived in my car. I lived in Great Bend, Kansas. My folks lived there, but I was out traveling. And we're here. And so when I'm hanging out here, in between, my busy schedule, I had to make some money. And when you've been raised where I've been raised, and out in the country and places like that, in little towns, whatever, and the biggest town you lived in got 3,000 people, when you live in small places, can I tell you something? A mall is a big deal. I love the mall. So I got a job with the railroad. You don't know how those go together because at Christmas season, I started working the little kids' railroad out in the mall. Wore a little hat, had a little scarf, picked those kids up and put them in that thing, and then when they get all them, take them back out and whatever. I watch parents force their kids to ride that train. Kid didn't want to ride the train. Kids crying, screaming, out of control, don't want to ride. You're going to ride because they want to pick. I loved it. It was just fun hanging out there. November the 18th, I go talk to, well, first of all, November 18th, I talked to Brother McIntosh about asking his daughter if she would marry me. His first question to me was, how are you going to support her? To which I said, well, the railroad's been very good to me. I wish he was alive. He'd tell you. That's exactly what I said to him. When you ain't got no answer, you might as well try to make the man laugh. You know what I mean? I already ruined his birthday. November 18th was his birthday, so I already ruined his birthday. Now I'm asking about his youngest daughter being married, and so I'm just saying, I told him the railroad's been good to me. I said, I'm going to retire soon. I'm going to get the gold watch and all that stuff. And I said, I don't see any problems whatsoever. So between November, we were going to get married next June 24th, I became youth pastor in Casper, Wyoming. So now it's getting worse. I was traveling around lost. Now I'm going to take his daughter to Casper, Wyoming. We didn't have anything. But you know what? It never entered our, we never even talked about it. It was just, we didn't think about it. We just knew it was right. We knew it was God. And we knew that God would supply and God would make a way. And everybody here in this room, very few of you got married for money or because of money. You got married because you didn't have any and you might as well just suffer together. You know what I'm saying? But you know what you can also testify to? Is God has been faithful. God has been faithful. You're either going to live by the visible or the invisible. If we would have gotten married based on the visible, we'd have never gotten married. We still wouldn't be married. Are you listening to me? I've never had a day that I could go, now I am material to be married. No, listen to me. We would never done it. So often, listen to me, churches never do anything because they're always waiting on the visible because that's what they're led by. That's what they govern everything by. We simply cannot do that. Listen to me. No room for the invisible is left in so many churches. Folks, we got to be able to try. I'm not talking about being foolish. I'm not talking about being crazy. I'm simply just saying being led by the invisible rather than the visible. Oh, think about it for a moment with me. What God could do if we got out of man and into ye. Men say that Jesus saves. Men says that Jesus heals. But what do ye say? What do we say? And if we do say that he does this, then do we back it up with any proof? Do we back it up with any proof whatsoever? Folks, if we can't, can I just make it very plain to you today? If we're just going to preach about what he can do, but he never does it, then we need to close the doors. We should have never built this building. We should have never started this church. I'm saying if we cannot offer to people, there's power, not in theory, but power in ye. In ye. Listen to me. We've got no business opening our doors if we're not going to. Can I tell you what they can do? They can go to many churches. They go to many places to hear somebody talk and join the women's council and the men's breakfast and go through the motions. But we have a distinctive. And that distinctive is that we believe the invisible comes down into visible manifestation. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10, you'll find a gift listed there. It's the gift of miracles. It's one of the 9 gifts of the Spirit. Why is that gift there? Have you ever asked yourself, what's the gift of miracles there for? You have also the gift of healing. You have the gift of discerning the Spirit. There's a lot of great things there. But why is the gift of miracles there? Let me tell you what I believe. I believe it is there for the one single purpose, and that is to get you from the invisible into the visible. Are you hearing me again? Why did he write that? Why did he put that in there? The only reason I believe is to help those that are led by the visible so that they might move into the invisible. And I believe, folks, listen to me. I'm being very transparent with you today. I believe that we're about to move into the invisible. And when it happens, listen to me. Remember I told you this thing's about church growth. When it happens, we won't be able to keep people away from our doors. If we want people to come because we like our preacher, we think you will too. Or we like our music, we think you will too. Or what is that? Might as well stay where they are. They got a good preacher there. They got good music. If we don't offer something different, I believe when miracles begin to happen, we will not be able to beat people away from our front door. Now, just in case you think I've got a little crazy, a little fanatical, I'm really out there somewhere, check out the book of Acts one more time when you get a chance. Look at Acts 4, verse 15. This is our textbook, right? Book of Acts. That's how the birthing of the church. This is what I've got to gauge my life by in the ministry, right? The Word of God. Acts 4:15 says, when they had commanded him to go aside out of the council, they conferred together. They got themselves together talking, saying, now, what are we going to do with these guys? You remember the story. What are we going to do with them? For indeed, a notable miracle has happened. When people were saying things that were truth, they could write them off as heretics. And when people were saying things that disagreed with their Pharisaical philosophy, they could write them off as somehow they're calling the prophets liars. They're not obedient. They could just write them off. But they said, we got to get together because listen to me. Here's the issue. If they were just talking about what their God could do, we can shut them up. But these guys have got a guy over here that everybody knows his problem. Everybody knows that he's an invalid. Everybody knows that he's sick. Everybody knows that. And now this guy is walking around healthy. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? If they were just preaching to this guy saying, our God can raise you up, our God can heal you, they could go, they're heretics. But the fact is that the invisible became visible, and this one that everybody knew his problem is up healthy and walking around now. They said, we got to deal with this because, you know what they called it? A notable miracle has happened. This society we live in can write us off as just another church. They can write us off. It don't matter how Pentecostal we are and we buck and we dance. They can write us off. They can handle it. They're used to doing it. But you let a notable miracle take place. Now, it don't matter what they think about me, what they think about us. It don't matter what they think. They have to deal with the fact that a notable miracle has happened. Once they were blind, but now they see. Once they were lost, but now when notable miracles. And by the way, that's a great word, notable. Notable. What is a notable miracle? It's something everybody notices. They have to take note of. They all know about it. It's notable. You have to take note. God specializes in notable miracles. Miracles that everybody has to look at, where it clearly was not a church, not a man, but it was God. What am I saying this morning? I believe there are special and unusual, notable miracles about to happen, because we're about to move into a new era of ministry. Folks, I know it. I know it in my spirit. It's beating in my heart. And you know what? And I don't mind telling you. And it's also out of complete desperation. Remember we talked about it? We don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. I'm not interested in making an arranged thing. I'm not interested in all y'all bringing your earrings in. You hear me? I'm not interested in manufacturing and arranging. So I'm not interested in that. I'm telling you right now, listen to me. I'm telling you, if we came up with some method, you know, I've had golf tournaments before where we raise money for missions, and when we give away, if somebody gets a hole-in-one on a certain hole, we give them a brand new car, paid for. You know how that happens? We buy a one-day insurance policy on that car. If that car's a $50,000 car, then I would pay one day. It might be $175, one day. And the insurance company's betting ain't nobody going to make a hole-in-one, so they're going to make $175. They have to make it on that hole. Has to be a certain length. And by the way, the price is based on how long the hole is. And so, but you ever wonder how that happens? That's how it happens. Is an insurance company's betting that it ain't going to happen. Some of you are already ahead of me here a little bit. Let me just say this to you. I am of the mindset that I am banking, I am betting, I am believing, I am trusting that God is going to do supernatural things. And you know something? If he doesn't do that, then you know what? We're going to be up a creek. I don't mind. Listen to me. When you're Peter and you say, Lord, if that's you, bid me come. And he says, come. Okay. You can talk all you want to. When you stay in that boat, you don't need no faith. But when you're going to throw your leg out over that boat, listen to me. He hadn't read the story. He didn't know what was going to happen. He just said, Lord, if that's you, bid me come. And the Lord said, come. Now, I know me. I said, I'm there, buddy. So, hey, man, listen to me. You and me, man, listen to me. So what are you going to do? Ice it over? I mean, you know, I'm with you. Hey, listen to me. Just for information's sake, what are you going to show me where all the rocks are? Well, once he tells me that, I don't need faith. The whole issue of faith is just, folks, I'm simply telling you, I don't want to arrange rocks. I don't want to arrange ice. I just simply want to say to you today, I believe that some supernatural, notable miracles are going to happen and take place. And that's how, remember what I told you? This is my little church growth message today. I'm not going to seek church growth. I'm not going to go out and try to do a marketing. I'm going to arrange something. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be Aaron. I'm not going to arrange something. I don't even want that. I simply believe that the biblical pattern is, if we allow the invisible to become visible, and if we are disciplined to see that take place, can I just say this to you? You won't be able to keep people away. I believe they'll come by the hundreds. I believe that. I got to close. Let me just say this to you. Here's the bottom line. We can do it our way, like the children of Israel in Exodus 32, or we can do it God's way. It's just that simple. God's way is to rekindle the invisible for a visible manifestation of his glory. He shows us that in John 1:14. He says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Why? Why? Folks, I'm not being crazy today. You know what? I think God's going, some of you are kind of, oh yeah. You know what God's doing? I think he's going, yes, yes. I believe God's looking over this and he's going, yes. We're not alone in this. I'm not being some crazy guy. I believe that God is saying, if you'll trust me, if you'll let me become visible in your invisible situation, I can change everything around. It's just that simple. God's way is rekindle. You know what he said? You'll find him over and over helping him. It says the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Why? Why? Because it had to be touched. It had to be seen. For them to be his witnesses like he wanted them to be, and he commanded them to be. Luke 24, he says, handle me, for the Spirit hath not flesh and bones. This is real. Those disciples had to touch him in order to go out and talk about him. And they would, some of you have never been invited one person to this church. Not one person. You know what? That's on all of us. Because you know what? If there had been a miracle happen, you'd been inviting people. You'd been inviting people who need a miracle. You'd be inviting that crippled person that you know. You've been inviting that person that the marriage is fine. If there'd been a notable miracle take place, you'd have been inviting people. He said, touch me. He wanted them to go out and be his witnesses, and he knew that they had to believe in what they were saying. Let me give you two accounts of something before I close. I remember the last time I heard David Wilkerson preach before he passed. He said, and I have the quote in front of me right here. He said, one student on the street came to him and said this, I don't know of a single teenager in my circle of friends who believes in God anymore. God doesn't relate to our world now. Prayer is useless. The churches are dead. Religion is a relic of the past. I don't know how you hear that. I hear it down deep in my gut, in my heart, and my spirit. Then he quoted one other person. He said, this person said, no one has faith anymore. Nobody believes anymore. The church has crystallized its message, and all it is now is a dead creed. There is no feeling in the churches anymore. So you get your experience then out in the streets. Alcoholism is an experience. Drugs is an experience. Sex is an experience. This individual, this teenager said, the church offers no experience, no feeling. It's dead. Folks, that's an indictment on all of us. We are the church. And if we're honest, we have to say they're right. They're right. There really isn't any experience. When I call people that are in church for the first time, I say, how did you enjoy the service? What does that mean? I said, did you enjoy the service? Did you feel comfortable? And I love to say, what did you think about that miracle? That's what I really like. I like to say, wasn't that amazing? See, I'm just telling you, it creeps into us, and we've changed our mentality. Listen to me. There isn't any. We come, we sing to him, we pray, we take an offering, we sing again, the preacher preaches, and then we say, God bless you, and out the door we go without a miracle. I think God, the eternal God, our miracle-working God is about to manifest himself through humble servants who say, I've got to have it. And Lord, you said I could have it, so I'm going to claim it, and in Jesus' name, I'm going to be expecting miracles. You see, folks, I don't care who prays the prayer. I just want to see the miracle. I don't care if it's through a guest that we have. I don't care if it's through you. I don't care. I don't care who prays the prayer. And here's my last word today is this. And this gets down to it. Here's why we don't see miracles. I'm asking you, what are you trusting God for that if he doesn't do, you're sunk? I'm going to speak for most of us here and say, nobody, we don't allow ourselves to get there. We don't think that's good. you know, stewardship. We don't think that's very prudent. Pastor Trent, you know as well as I do. If somebody walked in and told you they they just sold everything they had and they're sending it to missions, you'd be going, huh? They sold everything they had and they sent it to missions. You would go, are you? In our mind, we're going, that's not right. That's not smart. That's not very intelligent. You know, you better have heard from God. Well, of course. But I'm just asking you, what in your life, in this church, what are we believing and trusting God for that if He doesn't do, we are in trouble? The answer is probably nothing. You know why? Because you'd run me off. If I put this church in a spot that if God doesn't come through, we're in serious trouble, Brian. You'd go, well, you're not a very smart pastor, and we need to get somebody else to take your place. Am I telling the truth or not? You know that's true. I'm not saying it's right, but it's true. That's where we live. And I would say the same thing. Huh? You did what? You sold what? Pastor, you committed us to what? Where's that coming from? What? I'm asking you again, what in your life are you trusting God for that if He doesn't do, you're sunk? Now, you stay in the boat, the answer is always going to be nothing. Just God's good. God's a good God. I am a friend of God. That's all singing. You just. Now, I ain't saying tempt God. If He didn't tell you to sell everything, you better not sell nothing. But if He tells you to sell it, are you willing to trust Him? Peter wasn't saying, hey, I'm going to, no. He said, Lord, if that's you, bid me come. The Lord said, come. He was on solid ground. Just did he have the guts to trust Him? I'm asking you, what is it we're trusting God? Let me ask you one more thing, and this is it. Listen to me. As your pastor, if the lights were turned out in this church today for the last time, we never come back here again, would it make a difference? Would it matter? Would it matter? Would this city be affected adversely? Would this community be affected adversely because the doors were locked and the lights were out? What are you believing God to do that if He doesn't do, you're sunk? Folks, hear me. That's where we have got to live, folks. That's where the early church lived. That's where I believe we ought to be living just before Jesus returns. Let's go out of here in a blaze of glory. Now, I'm going to say something, but it's just to make a point. Don't get mad at me. You know, my attitude is, let's just run up a whole bunch of debt and let the Antichrist pay for it when we're gone. I already told you I'm just trying to be funny. But let's flip it around the other way. Are we really so worried about everything that we don't do anything for God because of blah, 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 blah? You can make excuses all your life. Let's go out of here in a blaze of glory. Let's go out of here with signs and wonders in the name of the Holy Child named Jesus. Let's believe every word of this. Let's stop trying to explain things away. Number one, I can't explain it away, and I don't want to be explaining away why God ain't doing nothing. I don't want to explain it away. You know what I'd like to tell people? Because we just ain't trusting and believing Him enough. But you know, that's not what we say. No. Well, you know, you never know. God's a sovereign God. And blah, 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 blah. I got all the speech down. We just need to tell Him because we're just not willing to live in a place of faith where that if He doesn't show up, we're in trouble. Let's start living it and believing it and expecting it. And our prayer and our work is all geared to letting the invisible come down in the visible and let Him dwell among us and manifest His glory until this city and state and nations around the world, it is not a hoax, they're going to say, because I've seen the miracles of God. Let me give you the negative side to it. Everybody stand all across this room if you would. The negative side is this. One time I was coming down Shaylin Avenue, got off of 465, got on Shaylin up there around whatever 56th Street area, somewhere in there. And right up ahead of me, traffic was stopped, and I got out. I wasn't sure exactly what had happened or whatever, but when I got out there, there had been a motorcycle accident. A motorcycle had hit the back of a car, and they flew over the stuff, and the person was killed and dead. And please, I'm not trying to get. Let me just say this, but I don't mean to. I'm not using it for effect, but I'm telling you, when you're standing there and they got it roped off, and you're over here quite a ways away, and they're coming around and they're picking up things, and they're picking up brain matter in the grass right there. It's been years ago, 20 years ago, at least. Everybody that I knew that had a motorcycle, I said, either sell it or wear your stupid helmet or do something. It affected me. To this day, it affected me. I'm telling you. I want to have on the positive side. I want to have things happen in the house of God that people are talking about 20 years from now and saying, because of that, I know that my Redeemer liveth. You know why I don't have to have somebody tell me? When I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with rheumatic fever. I didn't know anything at the time. I didn't know a whole lot about that. But it was bad. Before that, I had swelling of the joints. My knees and my ankles were all swollen. I was just a skinny little kid, so I looked like a freak. I mean, it was a pretty bad case. I know rheumatic fever can be all different levels. Mine was a very bad. They were going to take me out of school. I couldn't function. I couldn't do things. I had to basically be immobile. Thank God for faith parents, for Bible-believing parents. They had run all the tests. Everything had been done, settled, and finished. They were going to take me out of school. On a Friday night, we were in revival with Evangelist Paul Etter, E-T-T-E-R. When they got ready to pray for people at the end, my dad motioned for me to come up there. Well, if he hadn't, I was 9, I wasn't, Thank God for godly, believing parents. Laid hands on me and they prayed for me. Was supposed to be out of school on Monday. My dad took me back to the doctor on Monday. It's a little town, Fairview, Oklahoma. Said, I'd like for you to run the test again. And they said, we just ran them last week. We're not going to, He said, I'm asking you to run them again. Told them, they know he's the preacher. He said, we prayed for him Friday night. I just asking you to. They said, well, the insurance ain't going to pay for it. He said, I'll pay for it. If I never believed, if I never saw anything else, I just know for a fact. It's a matter of record. It was written up, put in the old Pentecostal Evangel. I mean, it was a documented miracle that the same test, they showed the test before, and then they showed the test later, and they were different. To this day, anytime I have a physical, anytime I have anything done, no problem, no heart issue, no nothing. Sister Betty Parsons, the doctors said there was something with her eye. I don't know all the details, but they ran all the tests, and so she was ready to go back in to have the surgery done to take care of the problem. And the doctor said for some reason, he said, I just want to check it again. Am I telling it right? You were in the doctor's office, and they were ready to do, was it surgery or procedure or something? And the doctor said, I'm just going to check it again. And what was there earlier and scheduled for surgery, and she's sitting there ready to have it done. So we're not talking to, and then he comes back and goes, it's not there. She said, that's all I need to know. Walked out, never had the surgery, doesn't need to have the surgery. See, that's called a notable miracle. See, the reason I know this is true because from 9 years old, I've known for a half a century. That's real. We need that for my grandkids, for my kids. We need notable miracles. so something could be born down deep inside of them and they'll never, ever, 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 ever forget. If you're here today and you have something in your life that you're dealing with right now, I don't care what it is, physical, financial, relational, spiritual, it does not matter what it is, but you need the invisible God to be visible. You need him to show up in your situation. I want you to step out and come down here right now and stand around the front. Everyone here right now that needs something from the invisible God to become visible in your life, I want you to come right now. We're going to believe God for supernatural, visible manifestation of a very powerful, all-knowing, omniscient, all-powerful God. Invisible, but he wants to manifest himself among us today. Folks, there's no need to come in here and walk out of here the same. There's no need to come in here and just keep dealing with it. We hope it works out for you. God bless you. I want us to believe God today for the invisible to become visible. Can you imagine if I took the microphone and passed it around everybody down here? You would find people have gotten a bad, evil report from the doctor. You'd find people that their home was about to be taken from them. You'd find people here that they don't know what's happening in their home, in their marriage, or their kids, or whatever. You would find major, major problems. But I want you to hear this preacher today saying, you know something, you come to the right place today, because you may have an invisible problem that you need the invisible God to show. I'm sorry, you may have a visible problem, but you need the invisible God to become visible. You need him to show up right now and turn this situation around. Can I tell you this? Remember what I said? I don't care who prays the prayer. I want you right now to lift your hands up all across the front of this sanctuary. Those at your seat, I want you to stretch your hands forward right now. It's not in the method. It's not a matter of who does what. It's not a matter of who touches who. Pastor Trent and I are going to pray for people. It doesn't matter who touches you. It doesn't matter who lays. It doesn't matter if anybody lays their hand on you. Listen to me. Right now, you need a notable miracle from God. I want you to step out by faith. Do whatever he tells you to do. Whatever it is, I want you to be obedient to him today. Come on, reach your hands toward heaven right now and believe God for supernatural power. Father, right now in the name of Jesus, I pray for notable miracles, Lord. I pray for notable miracles. I pray that today, Lord, right here on the 10th day of September, Lord. Father, I pray right now you begin to turn things around. I pray, God, for supernatural power. I pray, God, for miracles. Lord,
for nothing, no place, no one else will do. I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. Faints for you. My heart and my flesh, Lord, they cry out for the living God, for the living God.
Father, we believe for a miracle right now, Lord.
So incline your ears, trembling in tears, Lord, I'm yearning. To the throne of grace, to seek your face, Lord, I'm burning, I'm longing for you, and I need you, I need you, for nothing, no place, no one else will do. I need you, I need you. You satisfy this longing inside, Lord. I need you. I need you. Nothing, no place, no one else will do, Lord. I need you. I need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. faints for you. My heart and my flesh, oh, they cry out for the living God, for the living God. So incline your ears, with trembling and tears, I'm yearning. Oh, to the throne of grace, to seek your face, Lord, I'm burning, I'm longing for you, and I need you, I need you, nothing, no place, no one else will do, Lord, I need you, I need you, you satisfy this longing inside, Lord, I need you, I need you, nothing, no place, no one else will do, Lord, I need you, I need you, for you satisfy this longing inside, Lord, we need you. We need you. For nothing, there's no place, no one else will do. Lord, we need you. We need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. Lord, we need you. We need you. For nothing, no place, no one else will do. Lord, we need you. We need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. Can you make it personal? Sing it. I need you. I need you. Nothing, no place, no one else will do. Lord, I need you. I need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. Lord, I need you. I need you. For nothing, no place, no one else will do. Lord, I need you. I need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. Oh, I need you. I need you. For nothing, no place, no one else will do. Lord, I need you. I need you. For you satisfy this longing inside. I believe my soul longs and even faints for you. My heart and my flesh, oh, they cry out for the living God, for the living God. So incline your ears, with trembling and tears, I'm yearning. Oh, to the throne of grace, to seek your face, God, I'm burning, I'm longing for satisfy this longing inside.
Father, we thank you this morning, Lord, for your word. We thank you, Lord, for understanding from your word that what we've talked about today is what you've made provision for. You did it for the children of Israel. You did it for the prophets. You did it, Lord, in your own life when you walked on this earth, Lord. And afterwards, Lord, you said, touch me. Lord, we clearly can see a pattern that you see and you understand. You made us, you shaped us, you formed us, that we need the invisible to become visible. When the visible begins to happen, then we begin to have stronger faith and we're able to believe and be witnesses, Lord, as you've asked us to do. Lord, I pray now that we'll have the discipline that we talked about this morning. Let us be anchored to the discipline of believing and expecting supernatural things. Let us not make excuses. Let us not just fall back into it. But Lord, let us, between now and next Sunday, let our faith heighten, let our faith increase, and let us walk through these doors next Sunday believing it'll make a difference. It'll make a difference, folks. It'll make a difference in every service you're in if we come with an anticipation, having prayed, sought the face of God, and we are believing for the invisible to show up in visible form. Lord, let us be disciplined to it, committed to it. Now, Lord, go with us in everything that's happened in this altar today. Lord, I'm believing for miracles, Lord. I'm believing for supernatural miracles. I'm believing, Lord, that there's been healings, divine healings that have taken place around this altar. I'm believing, Lord, there's been restoration in the hearts of your people. There's been restoration of relationships, Lord. I'm believing there's been financial provision, Lord, that's already been dispatched from heaven, Lord. You're going to turn situations around. I believe that. I believe for notable miracles, Lord. Let us come back next week. And Father, let us begin to see the notable miracles be testified. Not just Sister Betty. Not just what I shared about myself years ago, Lord. Let us walk today in the supernatural authority and power of notable miracles in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Turn to somebody, hug their neck and say, I need him to show up. Come on. I need him. Ask yourself the question, what do you believe in God for? That if he doesn't do, you're sunk. Walk there. Live there. Come on. Don't be afraid of it. It's the only way to walk, only way to live. I need you this morning, Lord.
I need you. You satisfy this longing inside. I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. Nothing, no place, no one else will do. Lord, I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. You satisfy this longing inside. My soul longs and even faints for you. My heart and my flesh, they cry out for the living God, for the living God. So incline your ears with trembling and tears, Lord, I'm yearning to the throne of grace to seek your face. Lord, I'm burning, longing for you, and I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. For nothing, no place, no one else will do. Lord, I need you. I need you. I need you. I need you. For inside.